Precognition, the purported ability to foresee future events before they occur, has fascinated humanity for millennia. Rooted in the idea that the future might not be entirely random or unknowable, the concept has been central to countless myths, religious beliefs, and even scientific investigations. The idea of precognition dates back to ancient times. In many early societies, individuals claiming the ability to see the future were revered as shamans, prophets, oracles, or seers. The ancient Greeks, for example, sought guidance from the Oracle of Delphi, who was believed to channel the god Apollo to predict future events. Similarly, in ancient Rome, augurs interpreted signs, such as the flight of birds, to provide insights about what lay ahead. Religious traditions also embraced the concept of foreseeing the future. In Jewish and Christian traditions, precognitive visions are attributed to biblical figures like Joseph and Daniel, who interpreted dreams and predicted events through divine intervention. Across Asia, Hinduism and Buddhism incorporate the idea of spiritual enlightenment, granting insight into the future. In the modern era, precognition shifted from religious and mystical contexts to psychological and scientific scrutiny. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, the rise of the spiritualist movement brought renewed interest in psychic phenomena, including precognition. Mediums often claimed they could predict future events through communication with spirits or accessing some universal knowledge. While the history of precognition is steeped in mysticism, science has approached the topic cautiously. Broadly, scientific theories about precognition can be divided into two camps: those that claim it as a real phenomenon, and those that attribute it to cognitive or psychological mechanisms. Proponents of precognition argue that it may stem from abilities yet to be understood by science. Quantum mechanics has sometimes been invoked as a potential explanation, particularly concepts like non-locality and entanglement. Theoretical physicists like Roger Penrose and others have speculated about how the mind might access information outside the conventional flow of time, though these ideas remain speculative. Studies in parapsychology, such as experiments using random number generators, have sought to demonstrate precognitive abilities. One researcher, for example, conducted experiments where participants predicted future randomly generated events, such as the display of emotionally charged images. His results suggested that participants performed slightly better than chance, though critics have questioned the methodology and statistical rigor of such studies. Further, there's been difficulties replicating this study, which suggests that perhaps it wasn't very accurate at all. Skeptics argue that precognition can be explained through psychological mechanisms. The human brain is adept at recognizing patterns and making predictions based on incomplete information. What may feel like precognition could simply be subconscious processing of existing cues. For example, someone might predict a car accident after noticing subtle signs of reckless driving, but not consciously realizing they've done so. Another explanation is retroactive bias, where individuals reinterpret past events to fit a precognitive narrative. For instance, a dream about fire might feel prophetic after a house fire occurs, even if the dream was vague and open to many interpretations. This phenomenon, called confirmation bias, plays a significant role in shaping how people perceive precognition. Claims of precognition are inherently difficult to prove or disprove. Scientific evidence remains inconclusive, as studies often produce conflicting results or are plagued by methodological flaws. On the other hand, anecdotal evidence abounds. People often report experiences of déjà vu or vivid dreams that seem to predict future events. However, it's important to remember that there are literally 8 billion people in the world. Every person makes numerous forecasts about the future, either consciously or subconsciously, throughout the day. While it's impossible to quantify how many predictions human brains make per day, it's fairly certain that this number is astronomically high. Statistically, some predictions are bound to come true by chance alone. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here asking you to hit the share button and send this video to 2 of your friends. This small gesture allows me to spend more time creating content for you, and the best part is, it doesn't cost you a thing. Ley lines are said to be straight lines that crisscross the globe, connecting significant landmarks, ancient sites, and areas of natural beauty. These lines are often associated with energy, spiritual power, and ancient wisdom. The term ley line was first introduced in 1921 by British amateur archaeologist Alfred Watkins. Watkins claimed that he noticed a network of straight alignments linking ancient landmarks such as stone circles, standing stones, hilltops, and churches in the English countryside. He argued that these alignments weren't random but intentional, created by ancient people for navigational purposes or as part of a larger, forgotten system of significance. Watkins's theory was based on his observations during a time when maps were becoming more accessible, allowing people to see patterns that wouldn't have been apparent before. However, Watkins himself didn't ascribe any inherently mystical or supernatural properties to ley lines. His explanation was practical. He believed they were ancient trackways or paths used for trade, religious pilgrimage, or other purposes. The idea of ley lines took on a more mystical dimension in the mid-20th century, particularly with the rise of the New Age movement. The core theory of ley lines is that they connect points of historical, cultural, or spiritual significance. Proponents argue that these lines form an invisible grid across the earth, often aligning with features like ancient megaliths, burial mounds, and natural formations like mountains and rivers. Some people believe that ley lines are channels of earth energy, a type of natural force that can supposedly influence human consciousness, health, and spiritual well-being. There's also a popular belief that ley lines are linked to magnetic or electromagnetic fields. Supporters claim that these fields can be detected using tools like dowsing rods, and that the intersections of ley lines, known as nodes or vortex points, are areas of heightened energy. Famous sites like Stonehenge, the Great Pyramids of Giza, and Machu Picchu are often cited as examples of such nodes. In addition, some theorists suggest that ley lines were intentionally placed by ancient civilizations to harness this energy. They propose that these cultures had advanced knowledge of geomagnetic fields and used it to build their monuments in alignment with these energy pathways. Skeptics argue that the patterns identified as ley lines are often coincidental rather than intentional. When plotting multiple points on a map, it's statistically likely that some will align in straight lines simply by chance. This phenomenon, known as apophenia, refers to the human tendency to see patterns and connections where none exist. Critics also point out that the criteria for selecting points on ley lines are often subjective, making it easy to draw lines between sites that fit a desired narrative. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy stands as a cornerstone in Western esoteric literature. Published in 1533, this comprehensive work delves into the realms of natural magic, astrology, and divine mysteries, reflecting the Renaissance's fervent quest to harmonize science with mysticism. Agrippa, a German polymath born in 1486, was deeply immersed in the intellectual currents of his time. His engagement with Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and Neoplatonism is evident throughout his writings. The 3 books of occult philosophy emerged during a period when Europe was experiencing a resurgence of interest in ancient wisdom and esoteric traditions. This era, marked by the Renaissance, saw scholars striving to reconcile classical knowledge with contemporary thought. The treatise is divided into 3 distinct books: each addressing different facets of what was then defined as occult philosophy. The first book explores the natural world, emphasizing the hidden properties of elements, plants, animals, and minerals. Agrippa discusses how these natural objects possess inherent virtues that can be harnessed through proper understanding and application. He delves into the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire, and their corresponding qualities, asserting that a deep comprehension of these elements is essential for practicing natural magic. The second book transitions to the influence of celestial bodies on the terrestrial realm. Agrippa examines the astrological correspondences between planets, stars, and earthly events. He elaborates on how the positions and movements of celestial bodies can affect human affairs, weather patterns, and natural phenomena. This section underscores the belief that the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the individual, are interconnected. The third book delves into the realm of ceremonial or ritual magic. Agrippa provides insights into the invocation of spirits, the use of talismans, and the performance of rituals to achieve specific outcomes. He emphasizes the importance of purity, intention, and adherence to specific protocols when engaging in such practices. This book reflects the synthesis of various esoteric traditions, including Kabbalistic and Hermetic teachings. The work's integration of various esoteric disciplines provided a framework that many later practitioners built upon. Despite its acclaim, Agrippa's work was not without controversy. The Catholic Church, wary of the potential heretical implications of such esoteric writings, scrutinized and often condemned works on magic and the occult. Agrippa himself faced criticism and suspicion, leading to periods of hardship and persecution. His writings were included in the Church's Index of Forbidden Books, reflecting the tension between emerging Renaissance humanism and established religious orthodoxy. However, he was ultimately able to continue his work and be held in high esteem because he didn't hold himself out as an occultist, but rather someone who was just documenting phenomenon. Astaroth, one of the most prominent figures in demonology, holds a significant role as the Grand Duke of Hell, as well as the Treasurer of Hell. His origins can be traced back to early texts, such as the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum and the Lesser Key of Solomon. Astaroth is often depicted as a male demon with a regal crown, feathered wings, and a serpent in his hand, riding a dragon-like beast with a snake's tail. And yeah, if you're picturing a heavy metal album cover, you're really not far off here. Astaroth is thought to form what some sources describe as an evil trinity, with the two other members being the much more prominent Lucifer or Satan and Beelzebub. The demon's name is thought to have derived from the ancient goddess Astarte, a deity worshipped in the Near East for her associations with fertility and war. By the time of the medieval Christian demonologists, this goddess had been transformed into the male figure of Astaroth. In terms of his abilities, Astaroth is said to possess profound knowledge of the past, present, and future. His intellect is highly regarded, particularly in the realms of science, philosophy, and the arts. He is thought to be willing to share this knowledge with those who summon him, but caution is necessary according to traditional accounts. Astaroth's breath is described as toxic and deadly, requiring the conjurer to use protective items, such as a silver ring held under the nose to survive the encounter. Despite his dangerous nature, Astaroth is also known for being truthful in his answers, a rarity among demons, making him a valuable resource for those who seek forbidden knowledge. His advice, while often sought after by occultists, also comes with the risk of moral corruption, as Astaroth is skilled in manipulating human vanity and rationalizing sinful behaviors. Further, his willingness to give intellectuals the answers they seek for no apparent price is thought to place the seed of the deadly sin of sloth into the mind of the intellectual. The intellectual who receives help by summoning this demon is said to risk becoming increasingly lazy, leading them further down this path of sin. Also, I mentioned that Astaroth is a surprisingly honest demon, and according to tradition, this was noted by his colleagues as well. His honesty is thought to have landed him the role as treasurer of Hell, where he oversees the finances of Hell's hierarchy. Simply put, according to tradition, he was given this important job because he was the only demon who wasn't constantly lying. Given this role, other demons are said to be on their best behavior around him for fear of getting their budgets slashed. And no, I'm not joking. According to traditional demonology, one of the most feared traits is the ability to withdraw funding for evil deeds. The Bible has been the subject of countless studies, interpretations, and debates over the millennia. One of the more intriguing and controversial theories associated with it is the concept of the Bible Code, also known as the Torah Code. This theory suggests that hidden within the Hebrew text of the Bible are coded messages that can predict future events or reveal divine knowledge. The Bible Code is essentially a purported method of finding hidden messages within the text of the Bible, particularly the Hebrew Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. The concept hinges on equidistant letter sequences, also known as ELS. In this method, letters are selected at regular intervals within the text to form new words or phrases. For example, starting from a specific letter in Genesis and skipping every 50th letter might spell out a word or phrase. Proponents argue that these hidden messages can predict specific events, identify names, and reveal patterns of divine significance. The idea of finding hidden messages in the Bible isn't entirely new. The concept can be traced back to Jewish mysticism, particularly Kabbalah, which emphasizes deeper esoteric meanings within the Torah and other traditional Jewish texts. The modern version of the Bible Code, however, gained prominence in the late 20th century. In 1976, an Israeli mathematician named Dr. Eliyahu Rips, alongside Doron Witztum and Yoav Rosenberg, applied computer algorithms to search for equidistant letter sequences in the Bible. Their work culminated in a 1994 paper published in the academic journal Statistical Science. The paper claimed to find statistically significant patterns, such as names of famous rabbis encoded alongside their birth and death dates in the book of Genesis. This sparked public interest, but it wasn't until journalist Michael Drosnin published his book The Bible Code in 1997 that the theory exploded in popularity. Drosnin's book was a bestseller and presented bold claims, including predictions of future events like nuclear wars and natural disasters. While his work popularized the concept, it also drew sharp criticism from both scholars and skeptics. One of the Bible Code's most provocative claims is its ability to predict future events. Drosnin, for instance, claimed the Bible Code predicted the slaying of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. However, of course, it's much less impressive, or not impressive at all, to claim to have predicted an event after the event has occurred. Statisticians and skeptics have been especially critical of the Bible Code. One major critique is that equidistant letter sequences are not unique to the Bible. Researchers have demonstrated that similar patterns can be found in any sufficiently large text. For example, an Australian mathematician used the same methods to find quote-unquote predictions in Moby Dick by Herman Melville, including the slayings of JFK and MLK. Additionally, the statistical methods employed by Bible Code proponents have been questioned. Some argue that by selectively choosing starting points, intervals, and contexts, one can produce virtually any desired result. But secular scholars aren't the only ones who have taken their opportunity to dunk on the Bible Code. Religious scholars also point out that the Bible Code's reliance on the exact text of the Hebrew Bible is problematic. Over centuries, slight variations in manuscripts have emerged, raising the question of which version of the text is the correct one for such analyses. Even small changes in spelling could drastically alter the outcomes of equidistant letter sequences. Further, many observant people find that the Bible code is at best a distraction from the true meaning of the Bible. They argue that the Bible's spiritual and moral teachings should take precedence over speculative claims about hidden codes. In my view, the real problem with the Bible code is the fact that it has no apparent predictive powers whatsoever. It's essentially the occult version of a cheap parlor trick using a book that's held as sacred to a large percentage of the world's population. Asmodeus, a central figure in demonology, has long been regarded as one of the most significant and powerful demons, with domain over the deadly sin of lust. Asmodeus is often identified as one of the 7 princes of hell, tasked with spreading sin and corruption, primarily through lustful means. Physically, Asmodeus is often described as a grotesque and fearsome figure. Asmodeus is depicted with 3 heads, those of a bull, a man, and a ram, signifying strength, intelligence, and animalistic passion. He is said to ride upon a dragon, with the lower half of his body resembling the legs of a rooster, and flames issuing from his mouths. In the Book of Tobit, an apocryphal Jewish text, Asmodeus falls in love with Sarah and slays her 7 successive husbands on their wedding nights. His actions prevent the marriages from being consummated, reflecting his association with lust and thwarted love. Ultimately, Tobias, with the help of the archangel Raphael, overcomes Asmodeus by using a combination of prayers and the innards of a fish, banishing the demon to the deserts of Egypt. Asmodeus's prominence in Jewish demonology is further expanded upon in the Testament of Solomon, where he is depicted as both a trickster and a servant. In this text, Asmodeus is bound by King Solomon to assist in building the first temple, though he later tricks the king and seizes the throne for a short period. In Christian demonology, Asmodeus is closely tied to the vice of lust and appears in several key texts that catalog demons and their hierarchies. For instance, the Malleus Maleficarum, a medieval treatise on combating witchcraft, classifies Asmodeus as the demon responsible for influencing human beings toward immoral desires. During the Renaissance and early modern periods, Asmodeus became a popular figure in occult literature, especially within the practice of demonology and ceremonial magic. He appears in grimoires such as the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum and the Lesser Key of Solomon, where he is invoked by magicians seeking power, knowledge, and treasure. In these texts, Asmodeus is portrayed as a demon who can grant invincibility, teach mathematics, astronomy, and geometry, and reveal caches of ancient treasure. Pyramid power refers to the idea that pyramids, whether ancient structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza or modern replicas, have unique energy properties. These properties are thought to be capable of preserving, healing, and even enhancing human life. The fascination with pyramids dates back thousands of years. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2560 BC during Egypt's 4th dynasty, has always been a source of wonder due to its scale, precision, and just general mystery. While ancient Egyptians likely constructed the pyramids as tombs for pharaohs and monuments to their gods, their purpose became a focal point for speculative theories over time. And just to put things in perspective for a minute here, when ancient Romans, Greeks, and Persians looked at the Great Pyramids, it was ancient history to them. The modern concept of pyramid power gained traction in the 20th century. Much of it is attributed to Antoine Bovis, a French hardware store owner in the 1930s. Bovis reportedly visited the Great Pyramid and noticed that dead animals found inside appeared mummified rather than decayed. He hypothesized that the pyramid's unique geometry created an environment conducive to preservation. Inspired by this observation, Bovis experimented with scale models of pyramids and claimed they could mummify organic matter, sharpen razor blades, and even improve health. The idea went viral in the 1970s through Patrick Flanagan, a New Age author and inventor. Flanagan's book, Pyramid Power: The Secret Energy of the Ancients, popularized the idea that pyramids harness a mysterious form of energy. He and others claimed that pyramid energy was responsible for healing properties, increased spiritual awareness, and improved plant growth. Proponents of pyramid power suggest that pyramids generate an energy field due to their specific shape and proportions. Supporters argue that pyramid power arises from the pyramid's geometry, which supposedly focuses and amplifies universal energy or cosmic vibrations. This theory is grounded more in metaphysical beliefs than science. Advocates frequently compare pyramid energy to concepts like qi in Chinese medicine or prana in Indian philosophy, vital forces believed to flow through all living things. Some proponents suggest that the pyramid acts as an antenna for these energies, channeling them into a concentrated area. Despite its popularity among enthusiasts, pyramid power lacks a clear, testable mechanism. The claims often rely on anecdotal evidence and subjective experiences rather than rigorous experimentation. The scientific community has been skeptical of pyramid power since its inception. Researchers have tested many of the claims, but have consistently failed to find evidence supporting the existence of a unique pyramid energy field. One of the earliest and most enduring claims is that pyramids preserve organic material. However, controlled experiments have shown no significant difference between items placed under pyramids and those in similar conditions outside pyramids. Factors like airflow, humidity, and temperature are more likely to explain the observed effects. In the 1970s, scientists tested the idea that pyramids could sharpen dull razor blades, a claim advocated for by some pyramid power proponents. Studies revealed that any perceived improvement in blade sharpness was subjective and likely due to psychological bias. The physical properties of the blades remained unchanged. Some enthusiasts claim that plants grow better under pyramids, but controlled experiments have produced mixed results. In most cases, differences in growth are attributed to environmental factors, not pyramid geometry. Pyramid power as a tool for healing and energy enhancement lacks empirical support. While meditation under a pyramid may feel more profound for some individuals, it's been hypothesized that this is likely due to the placebo effect. I note that pyramid power as a belief system appears to have faded substantially since its heyday in the 1970s.